Hello, my name is Beami, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I feel like separates me from a lot of people around me and that I've met, and I feel like it should be said by somebody, at least talked about. I think these are conversations we need to have in today's world, and I just want to jump right into it. The truth is, I feel no patriotism. I feel zero attachment or connection to the United States of America. I feel like, man, I'm not proud to be an American. When I see these celebrations and exclamations and ceremonies of these wonderful triumphant moments of these leaders and the history and when I hear the speeches about the spirit of the frontier and our hardworking forefathers and the grit and toughness of the God-given destiny bestowed upon Americans of land conquering and race elimination.
The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
I don't feel pride. I don't feel gratitude. I don't feel related. The reality is, I'm just a boy who was born one day in 1995. I live on planet Earth. On that day, in fact, for much of the next 2 years, I didn't know what a country was. I didn't know what America was. I didn't know that there were borders that separate all of us as people, as a population. I had to be taught that this is how it is, that this is how I am, that this is what truth is. And that was a lie. It still is. When I watch these grand governmental ceremonies and I can feel these rich, elite beings stand around and boast with each other, all I think about is how many truly strong, courageous, beautiful, innocent, natural people have been massacred, captured, tortured, and destroyed for this moment to exist on our TV screens. As a celebration, as a tradition. How many indigenous cultures, natives, tribes, and historical knowledge have been ruthlessly wiped out on this land and worldwide in the name of America? How many rivers have dried up, mountains have been blown up, sacred sites have been dug up, how many mothers and children have been eliminated? How many kids have been kidnapped and brainwashed and stolen from their families, many without their knowledge to this day while their real parents were imprisoned and impoverished? And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. This is the truth. This is what it took for you and me to be where we are in this time and space and life. It's in our history books. It's referred to daily as a triumph, a great victory, a monumental win for America. A Bush administration senior aide once told journalist Ron Susskind before the 2004 election, "We're an empire now. And when we act, we create our own reality. And while you're studying that reality, judiciously as you will, we'll act again, creating other new realities which you can study too. We're history's actors, and you, all of you, will be left to just study what we do." On January 15th, 1992, Ralph Nader at Harvard Law School wrote, "The accountability of government has gone to the point where the very use of the law is the instrument of illegality." Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "Disobedience is the true foundation of liberty. The obedient must be slaves."
And we're human, we're connected with empathy for humanity because we're all human beings, God's creation, and they're oppressed. And we know God answers the prayers of the oppressed. They are suffering. They're treated with injustice, and it's on a wide scale, and nobody is really giving it the light that it should get, at least working toward a change. And I wanted to show the solidarity to those afflicted by this and their families and loved ones, that they're being remembered here in America. And they're being remembered here in America, not just by me, but by others. And it'll strengthen all of our faith. It was not about a countryman. It was more about spiritual.
Okay, let me jump in and ask you. I mean, do you think the protest or your protest is likely to damage your career? Are you worried you may find it difficult to get work again, given what happened?
I trust in God, brother. I wanted to pass that. I fear God more than I fear man.
Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "The good news is that the moment you decide that what you know is more important than what you have been taught to believe, you will have shifted gears in your quest for abundance. Success comes from within, not from without." Greg Alexander, in his interview as a member of his project New Radicals, who had just released their debut album, Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too, which included the international hit You Get What You Give, had this to say before he released his statement shortly after this interview, ending New Radicals and disappearing for 13 years.
The commercialization of society, where it's so out of control that when people are watching like 5 hours of TV a day and they're being, like fed propaganda, by the, where kids going to school and they have credit card companies trying to get them in debt. As soon as you turn 18, they want you in debt at 20%. And, pretty much where society is going, the Americanization of the world, and how it's a destructive force. It's causing a global collapse. On some levels, there's hypocrisy all around us. We all can't completely separate ourselves from it. Like, I drive in a car and there's gasoline from some evil, some evil oil company, perhaps, or making a record with like a record company that's a multinational. But I would say maybe a little bit of the sentiment is using the system to maybe start a word of mouth amongst kids and even like adults, all of us, to realize that the machinery that has built up the superficial American dream is the exact same machinery that, in theory, could be the downfall of mankind in the next 20 years if we're not careful with what's happening with, all the cliche things, the ozone layer, big business just dehumanizing everything. It's almost like everybody's being replaced by computers. It's like the dehumanization of society, where we're all obsolete. We're all basically a barcode.
Everyone I know falls in line. And even if they're aware of the truth and present reality, they still participate in this made-up concept of being an American. And they don't have to. They're allowed to stand down and defend themselves, protect their space, their lineage. But they and you are not America. You were just told that enough times. You were forced to pledge your allegiance enough times. You were reminded that your grandpa is a war hero enough times to feel like it's just what you do. But there is no excuse for genocide. There is no defense for merciless destruction. There is no good in deceit, murder, colonization, and warfare. And you need to hear this from somebody else. All of the good that you credit America for is exactly why Native children were kidnapped and put in the white man's school a couple generations ago. The same school that you and I were brought up in.
This is an uninhabitable place for human beings. Do you really think that families can live their dream in a region that looks like this, with no running water, no electricity?
On the one hand, we have the Navajo as we find him in the desert. Few of these boys and girls have ever seen a white man. Yet, through the agencies of the government, they are being rapidly brought from their state of comparative savagery and barbarism to one of civilization.
They took the idea that they were saving me.
Saving us. from ourselves.
Being saved, and I should be grateful for the life that I've been given, because any child on the reservation would give anything to live as I was living.
They took us away from our mom. They came marching right in and literally took us and thousands of other children from their home.
It's a way to eradicate us and to go to a nation's children.
To program their minds at the developmental age so they believe to their core that this is what these things mean. I've worked in early childhood development for over 5 years at this point. I've been trained and taken many courses about why the first 5 to 6 years of your life are so crucial to who you are and what you become and how you understand your entire life. I've spent time on Native American reservations and seen the incessant propaganda and political agendas that are posted and broadcast in every direction you look. But bringing diseases, slaughtering entire races, and artificially implanting our natural land with big tech and chemicals and wires is not good. The progress that we could have made from the time when the natives roamed free with the knowledge that they passed down to us is unimaginable. But we're getting there now. America has been the enemy of the planet Earth and humanity for its entire existence. Many populations know that truth firsthand. I hope this video reaches them.
Could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site.
غزة كانت المكان المفضل لي قبل الحرب. غزة كانت مليئة بالأماكن الجميلة جدا مثل شاطئ البحر والكافيتريات على شاطئ البحر والكورنيش. غزة المكان اللي كان المفضل للجميع.
I already know that some of the trigger responses from some of what I have said will be things like sissy and that I'm ungrateful and don't understand how fortunate I am that my ancestors died for my country and that I'm just some shroom-tripping lunatic living in a fantasy land, but I'd have to respectfully disagree. To me, it's cowardly to not be able to look in the mirror and accept that you're defending the undefendable, you're justifying the unjustifiable, you're allowing something outside of yourself to dictate who you are and what you think and what you're capable of. To me, it's heartless, disgusting, and ignorant to turn a blind eye to the reality of the truth in this conversation. To me, we need to start addressing the behaviors and mindsets of the leaders throughout our history as what they are. We have been allowing ourselves to be led by some of the most unstable and mentally ill people on the face of the planet. The egoic, maniacal, fragile, manipulative, greedy, disillusioned, power-tripping, elitist leaders that have been running the show for centuries represent everything that is wrong with ourselves. They harbor the greatest level of sinful traits that we spend our days in therapy and at work and with our spouses trying to become aware of, to overcome, and to be better from, to heal. And you vote for them. And you give them your time and energy and adoration and stares from a screen for hours and days and weeks and years and lifetimes.
My life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then you speak like them, and you regurgitate the same nonsense, and you don't have to.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
How can I, in good conscience, as a fellow human being on earth, feel proud of the history of this country, or the present, or the future goals? C.S. Lewis once wrote, "There is one vice of which no man in the world is free, which everyone in the world loathes when he sees it in someone else, and of which hardly any people except Christians even imagine that they are guilty of themselves. There is no fault we are more unconscious of in ourselves. The vice I am talking about is pride, or self-conceit. And the virtue opposite to it in Christian morals is called humility. According to Christian teachers, the essential vice, the utmost evil, is pride. Unchastity, anger, greed, drunkenness, and all that are mere flea bites in comparison. It was through pride that the devil became the devil. Pride leads to every other vice. It is the complete anti-God state of mind.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people forget. I'm a little worried, not that we should have more wars so we remember these things, but people forget that people had to fight and die to make this a great country. And I don't think the veterans get enough credit sometimes. Some of the young kids say, what are the old guys out there in uniforms for, you know? It's very important.
They're fantastic people, and the pride you'll see on Saturday will be unbelievable.
Yeah.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud. And confidence and pride is soaring like never before. We will be proud. We will live proudly.
I would be ignoring perhaps the biggest elephant in a room to ever exist if I didn't express this as well. Just like the contradictory nature of America's formation, where all men are created equal, unless they're a different race or aren't in the royal bloodline or are a woman, C.S. Lewis's belief in Christianity is completely contradictory. There are many Christians who never self-reflect and many non-Christians who do self-reflect. Also, how can one have pride in Christianity while speaking against pride? How can one support Christianity while serving God? And how can one support Christianity while speaking out against America and sleep peacefully at night? I can't get behind religion. The church is so interconnected to everything. What are you really supporting, buying into, allowing to lead you? The Vatican, the Pope, the UK, the monarchy, America. These titles are almost all interchangeable. So to speak truthfully about the atrocities of America is the same as speaking truthfully about the atrocities of the church. They are one and the same. America is the modern continuation of the church's multi-millennium year history. The church pulls every string to control every limb of the puppet, but they just show you the arm, and you give them your time, money, life, and faith. And you claim to love the one that your religion murdered. And you don't have to. I believe in Jesus. I believe Jesus was the opposite of religion. And I believe his name was Yeshua. And I believe following Yeshua means detaching from religion altogether. Jim Murphy wrote in his book, The Best Possible Life, quote, "When Jesus came to earth, he hung out with the outcasts, prostitutes, thieves, and lepers. This nonconformist behavior, hanging out with sinners, was complete heresy, such a low-class thing to do. Because of this, however, the lowly ones embraced Jesus in his unconditional, not an ounce of judgment love. And, most importantly, it was the lowly ones who ultimately received the life transformation that God himself was sharing, because their hearts were humble enough to receive his love. Jesus said, drop all that religious stuff. I am the temple. I am the priest. I am the sacrifice. Now all you need is me." The message of Jesus was completely revolutionary and unimaginable. It was a message of freedom based on a personal, intimate relationship with God Almighty. It was the anti-religion. Jesus didn't come to create a new religion, but to end religion once and for all. Yeshua himself said,
"What have you done to help them?" "We have taught them how to observe God's perfect law, while you actively defy and break and encourage others to deviate from it. All of you, this man is dangerous. He's leading you astray.
His words bring hope and healing.
His words are blasphemous, heretical.
Then I say woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seat in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces."
Take it back. Right now. You can't hear insulting words. Oh, I am just getting started.
I feel it's important to say that I understand there are a lot of opinions in this video that you may not agree with. But I hope you recognize that most of what I've talked about in this video is related to what has occurred on this exact land in our own country, to our own people. I didn't even really get into the responsibility America holds over some of the most horrific acts in the history of this planet all over the globe. I also only really covered the surface level. I didn't even get into the origins and predecessors of things like the CIA, FBI, NASA, and the level of corruption, deceit, and cover-ups that are a direct attack on everyday people's lives, minds, and hearts, but I encourage you to dig it up. I also mostly covered how this relates to us humans, but didn't speak on the impact these realities have had on our fellow animal kingdom, how many more extinctions are on the hands of the home of the brave. Regardless, the events of this year will start to showcase what I mean on a grander scale for the world to see. Look, regardless of anybody's stance, I believe we should be able to have conversations, to peacefully interact, and to engage in communication as fellow human beings on Earth, regardless of how different our beliefs or backgrounds or temperaments may be. There are many, many people that are dear friends of mine that I think the world of, that I still fundamentally do not see eye to eye on regarding many of these topics. And that is okay, because we don't have to. And we can still love each other and be of service. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I think. Don't follow me, follow yourself on the way to God and to heaven. Lastly, I'm recording this video on February 11th, 2025. About a month ago was the first presidential inauguration I've ever watched. I found it fascinating, to say the least. To me, Trump is the Jesus figure of the Matrix, the strategic plant to serve as the Messiah of the system, for the system, by the system. He's got to be one of the first presidents America's ever had to openly declare that
I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
And yet, the Catholic Church and prominent Catholics are some of his absolute biggest and most diehard supporters. Imagine a day where somebody can say, I'm a Christian, and then say the entire Catholic Church backs him. Like I said earlier, the church and America are synonymous. They are the same, so everything is connected, including this false Messiah. I believe America will fall, but I don't think it has anything to do with a civil war or a nuclear threat or division and hatred. I think America has always been a ticking time bomb with a temporary life that self-destructs. All empires fall. America has lasted longer than most. But the psychological warfare carried out against us is the most powerful and the most peaceful battle to reach the winning side of. I don't believe in anarchy. I don't believe in violence or actions like Luigi Mangioni's. I don't believe in screaming and yelling and telling the one oppressing me to stop. I believe those ideologies are missing something essential. I don't believe it has anything to do with me, and I think it's selfish and conceited to believe it does. I believe in patience and trust. I believe in God. I believe that there is much more happening than what we can see on the surface. I believe that we are approaching milestones in time that connect us to a much bigger series of events, a much grander scale, a more zoomed out understanding. And as we do our best every day to align with God and the natural flow of the universe, nature will take its course. I believe we are living through the most lovely generation and life experience we could ever imagine. But I believe the oppressors, the government, the malevolent leadership, and the system they've created takes care of itself. And we don't really need it. I believe that the golden age of life comes from psychologically recognizing our ability to separate and detach completely from the system, from the government, from these mentally ill and incapable leaders, and to look around at each other and thrive in the communities that we've had all along. Consider it an exercise in faith fortification. The show can't go on if there's no paying audience. So unsubscribe and leave the theater and walk outside and seek the sunshine together and see what happens. I'm honored and blessed to be of this land and of this lineage, but I am not proud to be an American because I don't have to be.
I mean, it's really important for us to remember our history. You know, unless you're one of the first Americans, a Native American, you came from someplace else. Somebody brought you.
Lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. God bless America. Thank you all.
I am Christian.